Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see so many people here. We had a lot of registrants for this EOcafe, so that's really great. We got a hot sunny day in Brussels. I know that's quite rare, but it is today. So welcome again to the EOcafe. You'll recall the idea is just to have a general discussion in the cafe. Everyone listens, and you can all join in later by putting questions in the chat. Please keep your microphones off, but you can always put cameras on. We like to see people, and as we said, questions in the chat later. So this is our 2-year anniversary for EOcafe. It's the 40th EOcafe. We've had 72 guest speakers and a total of over 5,000 people registering to join the cafe. A lot of interest in the recordings as well as the live cafes. And 2 years ago, in the very first EOcafe, we launched it as a way for people working in the EO community to stay in touch, at least virtually, because they could not meet physically, couldn't travel. And our first cafe on that first EOcafe 2 years ago, on the 16th of April, was Mauro Ficini. So we thought it would be great to invite him back and to talk about what's happened and bring everyone up to date. So Mauro, thank you very much for being with us today. 2 years later now, physical meetings are starting, and but we continue to open the EOcafe because we get a lot of positive feedback. So welcome back to you. And let's start just by talking how the last 2 years, everything been okay for you? Have you had any problems? What's your impressions been of the crisis that we've had?
Yeah, you mean I have to start? You're speaking to me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
You're our guest.
Yes, as you know, I think after 2 years, as you know, I've got COVID. So I have COVID today. So this is also a strange way to come in, but I'm feeling quite good. So in the end, I'm happy to be with you. Yes, I think we were at the start of the pandemic at that moment. Maybe if we go back 2 years, I think there were no vaccines at that moment. I think we were still in the middle of nowhere, I have to say. Today, the situation, while I still check the ECDC map, we are all still in dark red, but we are not worried anymore. I think dark red was very worrying 2 years ago. Today, probably because we have most vaccination, we have also the most of the symptoms are milder. We are less worried about that, and this is a good thing, and we survived. But when I say we survived, is yes, indeed, ourselves personally and so on, with all respect to those who had really problems and then died, because again there were so many. But nevertheless, I have also to say that the space industry survived. And this is, I think, what is quite important to this meeting of today. And I think they very well survived. So I have the feeling that apart maybe for the first 2-3 months where we wanted to put in place some mitigation measures, I didn't feel, at least from my side, big reduction of speed in whatever in things that were done. And this is not meaning that there were no problems, but is full, I mean, a big, how can I say, bravo to everyone, because I think they made it up. I think it was not easy. And yes, and here we are. And many things happened during these 2 years. And if you want, I can tell you from our side, from the Commission side, what happened in this respect.
Let's do that. I just wanted to comment that I think we get sort of anecdotal reports from the industry that, as you said, 2 years ago we had no idea. I remember thinking, how long can we keep going, as EARSC, because it was just a complete unknown. Everything shut down, everybody affected. But as you say, we've come through it reasonably well, I think, and everyone's come out the other side, or most people have. Unfortunately, some didn't. But the industry's had, I think, a bit of a mixed experience. And for the first, we did a survey fairly early on where people said, yeah, everything looks okay for this year, but then they were uncertain. And I think that's the way it's played out, that your industry had contracts that were lasting a certain time, but then the disruption sort of affected the customers, and so the contracts didn't come through after that. So there has been a disruption, and we will learn more about that when we start analyzing the data from the industry survey. But I mean, obviously we didn't know then. We know a lot more now. What really has changed as far as the Commission are concerned? What are the changes that are impacting you?
Yes, so I would mention two things. First of all, what happened, and then what we have experienced ourselves with the pandemic. So what happened? Actually, this period happened at the moment of the move from one MFF to the other. So it was really quite an important moment for everyone. It's a peak of activity for all the Commission, because you're entering a new financial cycle, and in most cases you have to reconduct all the regulations, and this also applied for us to Earth observation. And what happened? So it happened that we adopted a new space regulation, new space program, where all the space activities are included together. So there's not, differently from the past, there's not a regulation on Galileo, regulation on Copernicus, and new regulation about SST. No, everything has been put inside a single regulation. It was part of the instruction to try to reduce the number of financial lines inside the MFF. And indeed, it worked out quite well, because I had myself, so I have to confess, some reserves about this approach, but in the end, I think it's not bad that everything is included into a single program. And sorry, yes. Can you
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've seen a change of the.
No, you're fine.
Okay,
fine.
Very good. So and in the end, it worked well, and so we have now this space program in place. There are 5.4 billions that are devoted to Copernicus, out of around I don't remember 14 billions that are devoted to space, and more than that to space. And the initial proposal from the Commission was a little bit higher, but in the end we were not cut too much with from the initial proposal. And it might look a little bit strange with respect to the long discussion about financial gap for Copernicus, and we might come back to that. It's not a financial gap that is due to something that we were not aware. I mean, we were aware since the beginning. It's not a lack from the Commission side. We knew exactly how it was, and we are sorry that this was interpreted as a lack from the Commission side. And so everything was put in place, and as a consequence of the space regulation, we have the contribution agreements that have been signed with ESA and with the different entrusted entities, ECMWF, EUMETSAT, EEA, and so on. So everything, I have to say, is in place. We have put in place 8 contribution agreements, plus the activity with the JRC for the emergency service and the global land. The only one that is still missing is a contribution agreement with SATSEM. It's not finalized yet. The reason is because we try to extend the scope of the cooperation with the SATSEM, while for the others, I have to say, it's been mostly a copy and paste of the past, mostly a continuation. Nevertheless, we had still some legal issues, because after 7 years, because the previous worse from 7 years ago. Even the legal status of the different entities changed, so some elements have to be negotiated in a different way. But I think the teams on the Commission side, but also on the entrusted entities side, did, I think, an excellent job, and quite rapidly things have been done. We have been able also to adopt the work program 2020 and 2021. So, sorry, 2021 and 2022. So the budget for last year, for this year, has been approved by the member states, so we can use it without any problem. And now we are starting to prepare how to use the budget for 2023 and 2024. But this will be for the next month. This is about us and what we did. What has been the impact on us from COVID? I think it's the general impact that we can see all across the MFF or the activities of the Commission. When we started, it was before the COVID with the Commission, and we said that, at least this is my reading, that actually we were looking for a green and digital transition, and suddenly the word resilient has got more and more importance into that. And this resilience has been put forward by the COVID, because I think we really felt that we were unprepared. And so that there are several reasons why we have to be prepared for things that cannot be foreseen. And so we have to be resilient in the sense that we have to try to respond in a more rapid way, possibly in an independent way. So to try to avoid full dependency in some sectors from the outside. And this is not just for us, it's across all sectors of the European Commission. For us, indeed, the resilience, so the need to respond quickly was quite well explained or experienced when, at least I experienced that directly on myself. It was really the beginning of the pandemic. It was the month of March, probably March, yes, where my Director General called me very early in the morning and said the President von der Leyen wants to have pictures about the queues that are happening between the different countries. So indeed, they were expecting maybe images and products in 2-3 hours, but I knew from my side that this was not possible. So it was, first of all, important to prepare in saying the situation is the following, you have to acquire images, then you have to produce them, and we are not equipped sometimes for so rapid reaction and production. But in the end, we managed to produce the images, and this was also used by the President to show that there were long queues limiting the free exchange of goods and the free circulation of people across the different countries. And then later on, we had different activations in trying to support what was, for example, the presence of some tents here and there, the reduction of industrial activity, some cases also the reduction of pollution, because we were comparing maps of air pollution from one year to the other. And so this is more or less as we acted. And I think I will keep for me a couple of pictures that I put together myself. I didn't put them still in a frame, but I might do that, and to show to people in the next to my children in the future. And I thought about that last week, because it was Easter, and I had actually 2 pictures of St. Peter Square in Rome, Easter morning. One actually was from 2018, and the other one from 2020. And it's incredible. Thinking really at the morning of Easter, sunny day, and the square completely empty. It's quite amazing.
Yeah. And I guess resilience is now taking yet another turn, and requests for images coming over Ukraine and neighboring territories. I can imagine that's also taking quite a degree of importance. One of the things that was included in the new space program was the introduction of the new role for EUSPA. This is caused quite a bit of confusion, I think, with people, both in terms of the roles between EuSPA and DEFIS, and people still saying, well, what's EuSPA and ESA? What are the differences? One of the things we try to do on these calls is to help newcomers to the sector, to try and understand a bit the landscape, and especially the institutional landscape. So maybe you could just offer your view of the difference in roles there.
Yeah, I fully understand that there's been there might have been some confusion, and I think one of the reasons for the confusion is linked to what I said in the beginning. It's linked to the fact that we decided to put all the components all together. So, for example, to put Galileo and Copernicus together, so navigation and Earth observation in the same regulation. EuSPA indeed is increasing its role, is expanding. Nevertheless, not so much for Copernicus, if I have to say, at least not for the time being. I really invite you to read the regulation. It's a document that is quite available, and despite it is a legal document, I think it's quite easy. I mean, also to try to read, to understand what are the different roles. If I stick just to Earth observation, EuSPA at present has a role for market development. So it's nothing more than that. Yeah, then it can help in other aspects like communication, interaction with the users, and so on. But up for the time being, it has absolutely no role into the operation of the program. So the interaction with the entrusted entities, with ESA, and with the all operational parts, and with industry, and when I'm speaking about upstream part and midstream, is still remaining with the Commission. It's clearly different from Galileo, from navigation, where EuSPA has a clear role, so also in the operation of the system. This can also evolve in the future. There were also thoughts, someone thinking already to try to transfer more of Copernicus to EuSPA. I was personally not fully in favor for that, at least for the time being, because I think that EuSPA has a lot of competence. I think they will, in my view, they will be ready, but they will need time to phase in. First of all, I would say to get fully operational on the Galileo side, and maybe take these years in front of us and see it to get more acquainted also with Copernicus and have a further role into that.
And in respect to ESA?
Yes, ESA is remaining. The relationship in Copernicus so the relationship with ESA and Copernicus remain the same. So ESA is still remaining the contracting authority in most of the cases. There are some exceptions like the launchers, if I'm not wrong. But in general, we delegate the budget to ESA, and ESA is is placing contracts on our behalf. So it's so this is and honestly, I think our interaction with ESA has been and continues to be very good, despite the discussions that we had on the financial gap. And I think that the good cooperation that we had with ESA in the past helped to solve several issues and to have a smooth adoption of, for example, the FFPA that we have with ESA. Let's not forget that on the side of ESA, the Director General is the former director for Earth observation. So it's someone that knows the Commission quite well. He was also working
in the Commission, yeah.
Yes, indeed. So I think with ESA, we are still continuing to have an excellent cooperation. We're working hand in hand. It's a program where the financing is coming from both sides. It's not just one that is paying for everything. This is introducing some difficulty, indeed, but at the same time is an advantage, because you can really put together budgets that are for the good of the program.
It's a European construct that has shown the test of time, and certainly recall a lot of the discussions 20 years ago about how ESA should relate to the Commission and the European Union, but most of those have now, I think, been resolved, and it seems to be a working function. But people still get confused as to why we have another agency. Commissioner, get back to the title of the EOcafe. Commission talks about modernization of Copernicus. What's your take on that? What's the understanding of what does he mean by modernization?
Yes, so I think that the Commission is, I think, is a person that is very much forward-looking in all his activities. Maybe most of you have had already the chance to see him speaking. Maybe already at the conference that we had in Brussels in January this year, or at other occasions. And I think it gave very good imprints on how to go forward for the future. So, for example, accelerating the Galileo second generation, or now speaking about the secure connectivity aspect. Concerning about Earth observation, is fully aware that Copernicus today is recognized probably as the best Earth observation system in the world. We say that, everyone is saying that, it's not just us, also international partners. But he's right in saying, if we don't modernize, this will not last forever. So we have to be ready also for looking at challenges that might come. So there can be international competition, new commercial entrants, and so on, that in the end might be more efficient than what Copernicus is doing today. So looking into that, he asked us to have a reflection.
Who's got their microphone up?
Yeah, so he asked us to have a reflection on how to keep Copernicus still the best one, possibly in 10 years' time or even more. And in this respect, also the French presidency put a kind of priority into that, because, for example, they organized also in February in Toulouse an event about Copernicus 2035, where our commissioner in the beginning of that event expressed what is his view for Copernicus for the future, that in some way will be based on the existing, but also looking into new things. So what are we thinking? First of all, the program, the Earth observation program, will continue to have a green objective. So really to get more continuously in support of what is done for the environment. And we're already doing a lot with the services and so on, with observation satellites, and indeed also with the expansion missions that are coming and are out there. But it's not just the green transition and the use of satellite data in several environmental policies, but it's also what we said before, it's about the resilience. So having a system that could be, on one side, more fast in what it's doing, and at the same time more resilient itself, more protected in some way, and maybe used in areas that today are not fully exploited. And clearly here is the threshold between security, between civil security and defense, and so we're looking into that. So green and resilient, and taking into account two new, I have to say, ingredients, or not two new, but two ingredients that are getting more and more important into that. The first one is the digital. So the digital that could be applied all across the chain, so already on the satellites, maybe also with some processing on board of the satellites, on the ground segment with a better system for storage, distribution, and so on, modeling, using artificial intelligence, high performance computing, and so on. And also for the final products. And here there is the link with Destination Earth, where we are also discussing with our colleagues in DG Connect. This is for the digital part. And then the second part, the second ingredient is the new space. Indeed, we can have several definitions about new space, but I would simply say how to better integrate the commercial side of that, the commercial side of Earth observation, not just as having industry, not just an entity to which we procure something as we do today, but as an entity with whom we cooperate. So we establish some cooperation that can be on different bases, and maybe think both with digital and with new space about the future constellation of the future architecture for Copernicus in 10, 15 years from now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's great looking at different architectures, different sensors. At the end of the day, it's about services. It's about products and services that can be used by decision makers to help make better policy, by companies to help plan their logistics better, by farmers to help plan, and ultimately feeding back into policy in terms of food security and maybe less use of chemicals in order to improve the environment. So, and it's not just about Copernicus, is it? Because well, let me clarify that. Well, there's a part of the Copernicus program that is a data buy, introduced to ensure that there was access to higher resolution, higher frequency data that was complementing the Sentinels, but was bought from industry. And I mean, I think it was something that we, when did we discuss it first? 2012, 2013. It was certainly a long time ago. It was at the time the free and open data policy was coming in. But industry is very happy to provide data, but also provide services. So is there any thinking, or what would be your views about moving away from just data buy, but to services buy, to bring these additional resources in, and which would go a long way to help the European industry establish itself on the global stage, or to reinforce its position on the global stage?
Yeah, no, thank you for the question, because this is indeed your question is really going into the direction that we are trying to explore. So if we see at the situation today is so we are, as you said, we have the Sentinels, so that are probably the best reference and calibrated satellites that we can have. Very, very expensive indeed, but I think, as I said, the best. You
have to pay for quality.
Exactly, best for quality. Yes, it will be an issue, and I will come later to that. It's an issue between quality and quantity, because it's, you need a trade-off between the two, and I think you would like to have both. So we are speaking about the Sentinels, we are speaking about the expansion missions that in the end will have a similar quality or the same quality as the Sentinels. So we are speaking about very high quality satellites, and in 10 years, 12, 15 years time, we would like to have still these big satellites, reference satellites, to be the reference one, but working possibly in coordination with agile constellations that could complement with other data, with quantity. So with data that maybe are less calibrated, but they can use the Sentinels to cross-calibrate, but provide, for example, more frequency of acquisition and so on. Today, we are already using Sentinels and buying data, as you said, and we would like to move forward a little bit, because it's and we might have different levels of cooperation eventually with industry. So we can move from data buy, I need the data, I buy it, or I create a kind of a framework where I can buy it, or second step, I can move into buying a service, as you said. So I create a stronger cooperation with some industrial partners, so that I know that whenever I need the data, I don't have to prepare a check. I just pick up the phone and I know we need it. So, and this is already paid, it's paid up front. So this concept of anchor tenancy that we mentioned several times. And the third step is to have this kind of cooperation, but even stronger, where we'll say, you know, what we would like is that in the future, so side to the Sentinels, we would like to have this agile constellation, but this agile, we were ready to buy data from this agile constellation if they will respect this and that criteria. And so industry will know that in advance and will start to reflect in putting in place this new constellation, knowing that the customer will be there. This is not meaning that the plan is that the Commission will be the only customer. The idea is that industry will know that there will be a customer, but they will still keep their commercial use of their data, and having an anchor tenants already in the development of their infrastructure. In our view, they could be even more competitive outside. So this is, I think, it could be a kind of win-win situation. So having a faster privilege access, would be our win situation, and industry knowing, yes, I have that customer is reassuring me because there will be an amount of data that they will buy. So we are assured, and then we can look for other markets where we can also make profit or additionally on the satellites, on the data provided by the satellites. Here I'm speaking just about clearly about the satellites. Indeed, I think we have also to look into the midstream markets. So how to further develop eventually the different services, and there we have to continue to create this link between the provision of the data and the use. And here I see a change of paradigm. So we are not anymore on a push situation, but in many cases where people really approaching us, telling us, but do you have something that could fit to this or can fit to that one? My dream in some way is that there might be new needs and maybe new policies will say, we are ready to pay for that. So you created let's say the good service, and we want the gold service, and we are ready to pay for that if you provide us the delta adaptation to your products to our needs. And we have to see if it works.
I mean, that requires a big change in the awareness of what the data, what satellites can offer. And it's not just about, well, it's argued whether it's new policies or existing policies which are reinforced with the use of Earth observation data to implement the policy. We've been working recently in the SEBS work around the Water Framework Directive, and we'll be doing some more work on that recently. So that exists, it's being modified at the moment, but it doesn't recognize the use of satellite data. Whereas it could, and some countries even use satellite data as part of their reporting process. Others don't because it's not recognized by the regulation. So that's a fairly traditional example, but one that we have quite a bit of information on, and hopefully others. So I guess where I'm driving is how do we raise this awareness, establish the link, establish what satellites can do, what the industry can provide with the other services in the Commission, and indeed in their agencies, which are at European level, but also at national level. What can we do more to achieve that?
Okay, yes. I have to say that the use, we have experienced the same issue that you mentioned, not just at national level, but also inside the Commission. Because a very simple example, we had several times met our colleagues that are in charge of SDGs and trying to push for the use of satellite data in that respect. And initially there was kind of resistance to that. And I think I try to understand why. And for me, there were mainly two reasons. The first one is, as you say, that you have to understand what you will, and you don't trust what you don't know. And the second is that they are worried that you will disrupt the continuation of data. If you move from one instrument to another, there will be not a good continuation what is provided.
I think they're also worried that they might be asked to pay. So I think
that has to be. Not. We were at that moment. We said it for free, but even in that case, it didn't really work. But today, I think there are several SDGs where we are getting into that. But let's speak about two other policies where one I fully. So even Earth observation is starting to become, let's say, a tool. A prerequisite tool in some policies. I have two examples. One is land use change and forestation is the LULUCF regulation, where actually the use of satellites and Copernicus is really invited really to check and to monitor what is the situation for deforestation and for emissions linked to that. Another case is linked to the PAC, and that I discovered, I'm not able to follow all the regulation, but I discovered because apparently the fact that Sentinel-1B had an anomaly is causing a problem in that respect, because now in some cases for the implementation of the PAC, it's more and more recommended to use satellite data, including radar satellites, for checking the use of agriculture on different lands, and so we were contacted and by our colleagues and agriculture say, but if we impose or we warmly recommend the use of those data, and suddenly those data are not available anymore, it's a big issue.
Yeah. I mean, this has always been a big argument in the past about the continuity of data, and of course it's one of the things that Copernicus does to a degree solve. Of course, Sentinel-1B satellites do fail, but the fact that there is a succession and it's not just a single satellite means that, okay, things can continue, perhaps not quite as efficiently as the past. And another example is the work that EMSA do, which is also disrupted by the lack of Sentinel-1B. So I think it's. But again, this is part of the awareness that we have to do, and maybe it's part of the modernization again. Companies want to prepare to be part of this and to work with you more closely, and to I don't know, we'll have time to go on to the relationship with the entrusted entities later, but if we do, I'd like to. But I'm wondering whether there's something we can do more to help companies understand what's going on. We have raised the idea in the past of an annual sort of information day or an information meeting. And we would love to see that happen and to work with you to make that happen. It could even be part of, or alongside our Expand EO conference that we hold each summer. So I just want to throw that idea in, and I don't ask for an answer from you now, but it would be a good step to take, I think, to make sure that companies are aware what's coming up, they can plan, because that's really the key. They need to plan, whether they're taking their holidays or whether their staff are going away, if there are ITTs coming out, and what the operation of the company will need. We've got one question in the chat from Emmanuel. It goes down the line that I was talking about earlier about the relationship between different entities. So let me, it's entities and policies. It's a bit of a mix. So Emmanuel, come in and ask your question and try and keep it focused on one or the other.
Yeah, good afternoon. One or the other of what?
Yeah, well, you've got policies and institutions there.
No. My interest is the following. There are a number of initiatives enabling Earth observation and geospatial. paid by European taxpayer, which could enlarge the use of information derived from Earth observation. So I mentioned destination Earth, I mentioned CSC data access, and so on and so forth. I don't know, and that's why I asked the question, if your unit, Morrow, is involved in one or another. And the rationale behind is, I'm convinced that these initiatives, which are all relevant, I'm not challenging this initiative. I'm challenging the usefulness of this if they are not addressing new users. And that's my point. We could enlarge better the business and the markets if we are addressing new users, non-space expert users. And for me, the data spaces, being IAX or European Common Data Spaces and so on, are ways to get access to non-space, non-expert users.
Yeah, no, indeed, I agree with you, Emmanuel. We are in link with most of these initiatives. Maybe one thing that is missing here, but it was treated in the beginning, is EuSPA. Because indeed, the main role of EuSPA and what they did for Galileo in the past is to link space products with non-space needs. So they did a lot of. Actually, it was quite interesting when I looked their segmentation of activities. They want to look very, very well in transport, in agriculture, in many different fields, and how different applications can be used in those domains. Looking at the list of those that you mentioned here, the Knowledge Center on Earth Observation is clearly our baby with the JRC. We decided to set it up because we wanted to have an entity that is the buffer between what we do and what are the needs for the different EU policies, and different EU policies really ranging from agriculture, transport, homeland security, and environment, and so on. Tried really to raise their on one side their needs, but at the same time to make them understand what we do, and as much as possible to integrate what we do in their policy, because the more we do that, the more we can be reassured that in the future MFF there will be a support for that, because it will be a European tool for European policies, and this for me is a recipe of ensured continuation of the system for the future. Destination Earth is different because it's an initiative that has started with DG Connect. The starting point is a little bit different from Copernicus. It is mostly about digital solutions, but indeed they cannot be separated, because Copernicus is generating all these data that are used. Satellite data are not the only one. We can also use in situ data or other elements, mix them up with high performance computing or artificial intelligence, and then generate some models to do these digital twins. What is important with Destination Earth is that we maintain a coherence, that Destination Earth is not duplicating what Copernicus is doing, because I think it would be simply a misuse of money, but they can actually, that Destination Earth is providing maybe the step further, so a kind of a digital system that is giving something more. It's in the definition, two digital twins are proposed, one for climate change and the other one for extreme events. There was this morning also an event organized by Mercator on the digital twin ocean. It's not for the time being in the list of Destination Earth, but it will come. So we have to see how this will materialize for the future. It has a lot of potential, and indeed, I think we have to do all the maximum to do the best. Concerning then there is the issue about the data storage, data distribution, the DIAs, the past ones, the new ones, and so on. My unit is involved to that. We are not, our unit, completely dealing with that. We are cooperating with other colleagues in the office, and somehow I would say in Connect, even though it's mostly DG DEFIS. and trying to probably get the lessons learned from the 4 DIAs that we had in the past, and also based on the capacity that we have developed in the past to create something that is reaching the real need. We didn't catch up. I mean, let's be frank, we didn't catch up what Google or Amazon is doing. I mean, we are still behind that, but I think we have to make the best out of that. And I think doing that at European level for me is the way to do that. It looked to me strange because I followed yesterday the discussion, probably you did as well, between Emmanuel Macron, and actually said we have to go European in these activities. And then yes, we have also
and the only answers that came out were spatial and Airbus.
yes, indeed. So yes, so Airbus, by the way, Franco-German, yes, okay, but it
also led to a discussion.
Yes, yes. And then indeed we are also dealing with Connect, with also other activities on open data and so on. But if you want, we can have a separate discussion about that.
Yeah, thanks, Mauro. Thanks a lot. Jeff, you're muted.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Please feel free to put some questions in the chat. There's one from Ralph Mumberg. Ralph, do you want to come in?
Hi, Jeff, it's Rainer, not Ralph.
Again, you're mute, Jeff.
No,
I should have started. Yeah, I meant to clean my glasses before I started this call. I'm sorry.
No worry. Yes, I think it's a question tomorrow, because several times in the discussion with Davies, Oisbar, and so on, I think the aspect of the connectivity, connection of SATCOM navigation, Earth observation is very important in future developments and of services. How is your opinion in this point, also for the future of Copernicus services?
Yeah, I think this is it's a good question, and I have to say that USPA might have a role into that, because having now this mandate to work for the downstream market for navigation, Earth observation, we are not really doing communication, but maybe with secure connectivity we'll enter into also this element. They might be able to really to focus more in what you say, this kind of I will use an ESA word, integrated application programs activities. So, but yes, we have to see. Indeed, there are already activities that might use all that. Let's think simply about emergency, where the use of navigation, emergency, and a secure communication could be indeed the right solution. Secure connectivity indeed is starting as a, let's say, a self-standing entity, but aspect, but it may be also use to connect the dots, so Earth observation, navigation, and so on. And the when we speak about secure connectivity and Earth observation, we are, for example, thinking about two things. I don't know which of these will materialize. So to use secure connectivity to a secure transfer of Earth observation data, this could be one application or a faster one. And the second one, already to embark on board of secure connectivity, some very simple Earth observation capacities, so that actually this system is already an hybrid system combining all these elements. So it's just forward-looking. We don't have for the time being a real plan into that.
Okay, thanks.
I'll mute myself this time. Okay. I touched earlier on the questions of budget and visibility for industry through some information day. There's quite a lot of visibility of the Copernicus budget for the satellites and launchers, and we know how ESA works, so there's quite a good understanding of what's coming out. We can also see quite clearly how much money is being spent on the contributing missions, because that data, that is a budget that's broken out. But when it comes to downstream services, which most of the companies on the call are concerned with, there isn't much visibility. There isn't much information as to what the budgets might be. It's going through the entrusted entities. It's going through the contribution agreements that you mentioned earlier. And I'd ask at that point, are the contributions agreements likely to be public? So what we would like to see is some greater visibility on the budget that's being spent and is available for the downstream industry. So again, the industry knows what it's dealing with and can plan and adapt accordingly. And you know, this is, I think, a lack at the moment.
Yeah. Yes. So as you know, we have 4.4 billions for Copernicus in this MFF. I'm just speaking about the budget from the European Commission, not the one from ESA. When usually what happens, when you make a proposal, you propose what you would like to do and the money linked to that. Then you get back from the MFF big negotiation what you will really receive, and then you have some kind of reverse engineering, and you have to see how you will use the money for the different parts of the program. I would split maybe the different parts of the program in three blocks. One is the upstream, another one is the midstream, the services, and the third one is, I would say, the cross-cutting activities, that is user uptake and so on. So indeed, it's necessary to, when we started, we said all the time that our main priority was the continuation, and then the second priority was the evolution. So out of the money that was available, we had to ensure the continuation and then to get into the evolution. So we made a calculation for the services that we had done, not all over the 7 years, the past 7 years, but let's say along the last 3 or 4 years, because it was the cruise speed more or less of that, where they ended up the ramping up. And we calculated more or less what it meant for the services to be continued, And in the end, we end up with a number that was between 1 billion and 1.1. So this, when we decided to plan the budget, and this is how I proposed to do that, and this was the line that was followed, that 1.1 or something like that was blocked for that. So it was put aside, because if we didn't do that, and we started already to negotiate the space component here, there, the lag, expansion, and so on, there was a risk that the services would have been put aside. So this was a budget that could not be touched, because it was the continuation of the service with some small margins of evolution. I can tell you that even the entrusted entities would have expected more, because in the end, even this amount is not allowing for big evolutions. So what was remaining in the end, and this is how we ended up with the amount that then was the rest was like a kind of 200,000, 200 millions for horizontal activities, including contribution to Cassini and all these things, and the remaining part 4.1. Because then we have 4.1 plus 1.1 plus 2 plus 0.2, so equals 5.4. So the 4.1 was for the space component, separated in two parts, one going to the to EUMETSAT and the other part going to ESA. So this is, let's say, the equation of the numbers. Indeed, then we could go inside of the 1.1 for the services to understand how much went to every. But that I think is a kind of micromanagement, because indeed we provide all the entrusted entities with money really to provide what they're doing, and if they're able to do some economies of scale in the production of the data, they can also do some development for further products.
Okay, but then the you say it's in the detail, but that detail is actually quite important for the industry, because they have no idea how that's going to work out, how it's going to evolve. So maybe modernization can also start to tackle this issue of budget visibility and transparency. That would be very helpful, I think, because again, the goal is to turn or ensure that the European industry stays at the forefront of the global competition.
Yeah. But I don't think that the numbers are secret. So the total amount for each contribution agreement is not a secret. This can be provided. Yes.
And is there an interest from DG DEFIS or the Commission to understand how much of that money goes out into the industry?
We know. We know because so the industry could simply confirm that, but entrusted entities are obliged to give us quarterly patient reports and annual reports, so we know exactly. And I think this is a financial request, so we know exactly how much it is. And now there is even a more stringent situation with the new regulation. They have to provide us their procurement plan for the following year, so we know to which kind of activities they want to invest. And in the contribution agreements, we know exactly how much is staying with the entrusted entity and how much is going to industry. Okay. It's not equal everywhere. There are some entities that are more expensive than other, but this I will not.
Okay, but more expensive, but also there are some which it's more outsourced than others, and people understand that, they know. But if this information is now flowing, which is great to hear, then it would be great if that could also be presented and made companies made aware of it again, so that they can understand and plan.
Yeah. Okay. This has to be prepared. I mean, we share this kind of information with the member states. The member states receive these implementation reports, so they see exactly how it works. There is a full transparency with the member states, so they know that.
So we'll come back on that point then. Any further questions? It seems very quiet today. What about the we've talked about the industry goal of industry is to develop, is to do business, and one of the key aspects of that is on the international stage. There've been a number of initiatives started, but not executed, I think, in terms of taking Copernicus and using it as a tool to help with international development and to help with the industry to find a way in export markets. That's obviously been rather derailed by COVID. What will now be happening? There's the global development activity which has started. Are you able to say anything more about that? It's probably a bit outside your. It's not your unit, is it? But
you're right. It's not exactly my unit dealing with that. But indeed, I think I have the same impression that you had. I well remember that a couple of years ago there were some actions in order to support also global competitiveness of some companies outside of Europe. And recently, this is not something that really happened. Indeed, I think we are still looking into negotiations with third countries, and generally speaking, we try also to include aspects of reciprocity into that, because I think it's quite important. Yeah. So, but as you say, I didn't hear much about initiatives in this direction recently.
Oh, okay, fair enough. We'll see. We're coming to the end. There's still no further questions. We just to close, maybe. I mean, we've known each other for some time now, and EARSC has been present in the commission. You know EARSC very well, I think. There's a lot of new colleagues coming in. How much is EARSC known amongst those new colleagues? Do we need to be doing more to bang on people's doors or to raise awareness, or do you think EARSC is well known in the corridors of DEFIS?
So I have to say that you're very well known. So this is, in my view, is it's good. I think you did your colleagues and EARSC in general did a great job. And honestly, when we think about entities that could represent in general the industry, space industry related to Earth observation, we have two entities we are thinking of: is EU and Eurospace. So it's but it's not one or the second. I think there are two, and I can find other in my mind, national ones and so on, but these are the two that are coming immediate to our mind. So I think you did a good job to make yourself known.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same with in the navigation domain as well. You have the upstream and the downstream. So we do our best. I mean, if there's more we can do, let us know. The EOcafe is a tool for communicating. So I think we've been surprised it has carried on. I'll thank you again for joining us for a second time for our anniversary. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be having the next EOcafe, which is looking with ECMWF at the CCCS, C3S. There's a climate report coming out from ECMWF, so they want to talk about that, and we want to talk with them about that. So hopefully many of you will join us for that.
Yes,
Mauro,
if I may, the launch event was today because I was part of that, and the report, if I'm not wrong, will be available tomorrow.
Yeah, it was part of the timing of the EOcafe, so thanks. Is there anything else you want to say before we sort of close?
No, thank you very much. I think I can already book for the 80th EuroGEO, or even before.
If I'm still here, then yes, maybe.
Or maybe in presence next time, I hope. Yes.
I hope so. Yeah, it would be good. We were sort of toying with that idea this time, but we had a setup. Well, we have a setup in the office where we wanted to do these sort of physical meetings, not done in this way that we've ended up doing it. So it would be nice to have met around the table, sitting in the chairs in the office, and had a face-to-face conversation instead of a virtual conversation. So yeah, I hope that soon we can manage that, and I hope soon that we can meet, and maybe Expandio will be the opportunity to do that. Great. Oh, and yeah, that was timely. Expandio on the screen, 14th, 15th of June. Physical meeting in Brussels, but there will be online participation as well. So you will have the opportunity to join from wherever you are. But of course, that way you don't meet the colleagues, you don't meet the people, you miss a lot of the activity by not being physically present. So I hope to see many of you then. We'll close the formal part of the EOcafe here. Everybody very welcome to stay online. Just open up your microphone if you want to say anything. And as it says there, yeah, let's have many more EOcafes together. Thanks, Mara.
Okay.
And thanks everyone for joining.
Yes, cheers to everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.